this week on your California Weekly Recap. Republican lawmakers announced more than 1 million signatures had been collected on a petition to get a voter ID measure on the November 2026 ballot.
1.35 billion signatures are being submitted to give California voters the ultimate say in how we can restore the health of our democracy. California Voter ID Initiative, it is common sense, and it reflects a bipartisan public consensus. You don't, in this day and age of political division, you don't see this much unity, this much coming together on an issue.
It's the fastest volunteer signature gathering in California history. We've got 1.3 million signatures from Democrats, Independents, and Republicans throughout all 58 counties. And we started this in September. So what we're doing is we're turning into all 58 counties, our signatures. And we only need 800,000, a little over 800,000 to qualify. We have over 1.3 million that we're turning in. So all this does is it says that you need to be a U.S. citizen in order to be registered to vote, and that you need to show a form of ID that you get to choose one of 6 or 7 forms of ID. And then if you vote by mail, you just use the last 4 digits of whatever ID you get to choose. And if you vote in person, you just show an ID at the polls.
However, not everyone agrees with the initiative.
Significant number of people don't have access to a current driver's license or other government-issued ID, but they're still eligible voters, and this would block them from the ballot. And California elections are already secure. We verify the identity and the eligibility of every registered voter at the time they register, and we secure ballots at every stage process. This is not necessary and pose an additional barrier.
Senator Scott Wiener of San Francisco introduced a bill in recent days that would allow cities throughout the state to break up with PG&E.
SB 875 will allow cities to be able to break away. Right now, PG&E has put poison pills into the law that make it really hard for cities to do so, and this will make it easier.
Also on Wednesday, California legislators heard a budget update from state officials.
The blanket under all of the comments is the state budget condition. The good news is the stock market has been booming and is continuing to boom. In fact, about a week and a half ago, our office updated our revenue estimates to reflect that. The question is just how long will that last? And as I know you heard in full committee hearing from Gabe Pettick, the legislative analyst, my boss, there are a lot of concerning signs based on what we've seen historically of an overheated market. And so the question is, how long will that last and at what degree? We as a state want to be able to use the tools that we have, like our aircraft when there are fires, and not have them grounded because we didn't provide funding to be able to utilize them. That to us is the kind of example of something where it's pressing, it's immediate. If it's not funded this year, then there's a problem.
On Wednesday, Democrats in the California legislature announced a package of bills that aim to increase the state's wildfire readiness and recovery efforts.
These are all areas where it's the classic, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So whatever, every expenditure that we scrutinize, whether it be another, aerial resource, another helicopter, whether it be another CAL FIRE resource, whether it be something in one of these bills, we really look at it from that lens. And this has to be an area where we just have to do the prevention work. So it's the coordination, it's the home hardening, it's everything that's been talked about today.
That I think the through line through all of these bills that are part of this package is trying to ensure the highest ROI possible for taxpayer dollars. When we're talking about making it easier to do beneficial fire projects, that means that less dollars are going towards planning and more dollars are going towards the ground. When we're talking about doing low interest loans for homeowners backed by the state to get folks to be able to afford home hardening, that's about reaching more homeowners than grants alone could reach. When we're talking about solidifying the county coordinator program, you heard from our speaker that those programs are bringing in more in federal dollars for these communities than the state is spending in getting the programs going. And I think with technology in particular, you're seeing high ROI investments that amplify every single dollar that the state spends on wildfire mitigation and suppression. And that is really what motivates, I think, the package.
Top officials from the University of California and the California State University testified on Thursday about impacts to both university systems from federal budget cuts.
And know that there has been so much work that you all have been doing, not just to facilitate the work that is happening on your campuses, but dealing with the ongoing challenges that we've been facing with the federal government. And just want to acknowledge not just the policy implications, but also the financial impacts, the significant financial impacts that that's had on both the CSU and the UC. I wanted to give you all a moment just to speak a little bit to some of the financial impacts that your systems have faced as a result of cuts to grants to minority serving institutions, the impact that that's had overall to student services, and if student services have been affected. I know that recently we saw the federal administration drop their lawsuit against DEI programs. So would love to hear some of the implications that that's had for you all and the services you're providing. In addition to that, the impacts of H.R.1 and on the programs that you all are offering.
Just two examples. Chico State lost a rural teacher training grant, removing dozens of student teachers from rural schools in the North State. Cal State LA lost an urban teacher training program that was training more than 300 student teachers at low-income schools.
In the past year, we've had 1,600 grants that have been affected by federal withdrawals of support. 1,200 of those have been temporarily reinstated. It's about $830 million worth, but they are currently under appeal. The reinstatement decision by Judge Lynn is appealed to the Ninth Circuit. So that leaves about 400 grants that are either suspended or terminated, about $170 million in research activity, which not only supports the direct research activity, but supports salaries for research team members, including graduate students, technicians, etc. We are... so that's over $1 billion total that is still under threat, either being withheld or under appeal today. We face, as I mentioned in my prepared remarks, challenges, enforcement actions at all 10 of our campuses and UC system-wide with regard to that could threaten funding further.
That's your California Weekly Recap. I'm Madeline Shannon for the Center Square. Join us next time.